I had my choice of opportunities. I had a pathward into more senior leadership. I had a great reputation. I stood out like a sore thumb in an industry full of men and was one of the very few women that was doing the kind of work in that space that I was at the time. And I had a different set of skills, not only technical skills, but people in leadership skills that many of my peers around me didn't have. And it's like, well, what are you doing? You have all this opportunity. It's not just a perfectly good job, but giving up all the possibility that could be on the other side. Everybody has a backstory. And tying back to our conversation, not knowing my backstory, and I see purpose showing up for a lot of leaders that have let go of their backstory and are trying to focus so hard on living either for today or often for the future, and losing the connection to their own backstory and how it's playing a driving force and how they're showing up today, but also what their purpose is, and feeling a little bit disconnected from the what's the point, and why am I doing what I'm doing, and why am I working so hard, or what am I striving towards other than a better future. But a lot of leaders are struggling with that question of so what's the point? Not just the things we're going to do and setting those out as our goals. What will be better? What do we hope? What do we call success at the end of the year? And it's easy for a leader or for teams to get really caught up, especially in a public organization, the next quarter, and chasing the next quarter, but losing sight of not even this year, what are we trying to achieve, but over a longer period, even maybe 3 years. What do we hope to be different, and what's the impact that we want that different to be creating in the world? Nobody shows up every day to just push a rock. And I see a lot of not just leaders, but teams pushing a rock, and then teams end up really siloed and everybody just doing their own thing because we're just pushing a rock. But if we're all trying to create a new future together and it's something we all deeply care about, we can figure that out, then work becomes more meaningful, but also we create something way better together with that intention than we ever could by just doing tasks. Sometimes you're genuinely pushing a rock, but sometimes you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing, but without the clarity of the impact you're creating and that you're really fulfilling your purpose, it can take that right work for you and turn it into something that feels like a chore because you've lost connection to the why behind it. The danger for an individual or for a team in going down this journey of identifying their purpose is you might find that you're in the wrong fit. Well, what if I find out that I'm not? And if we can create the safety to, okay, we can deal with that later and just explore. Most of the leaders and teams that I work with that process through, they find the reason why they're exactly where they are and that they're in the very right place. But they see it through different eyes, and now they've got energy and joy and way different thinking and approach to the work that they do. I know that through a lot of leaders I've worked with, but also through my own personal story, struggling with oh, darn, if not this, then what? And that's part of the story I'm going to share at the Day on Purpose. But I also think about a leader that I worked with that was a VP in an energy company, and we went through this process of looking at purpose, and their purpose was very much tied to music and a first career that almost was, and an intention to step away from it, to have some other things in life that they wanted, but they had abandoned and let go of that part of themselves along the way. And it wasn't something that they wanted to make their career and their occupation, but realized it was a vocation they had let go of. And their then what wasn't about changing careers at all. It was about reclaiming that piece of themselves and using their career as the means to be able to fulfill that purpose in other parts of their life outside of their day-to-day work. And it shifted dramatically how they looked at their work. They looked at their work as something that they had to do and they had no choice around, to something they chose to do because it provided the platform and the funds and the foundation to be able to go and live their purpose in the other areas of their life. My own story required me to make a career change along the way, and it wasn't easy. It took me a couple of years to figure out the answer to, if not this, then what?
Right.
And a journey of discovery to really figure that out, and then unfolding, and we've heard it, this metaphor before, the peeling the onion. It wasn't just a peeling the onion of who am I, but a peeling away all the other options and the noise in front of me to look at what were the ways that I could live out my purpose that would be most fulfilling for me. So I think I've probably got more of the North Star now, but about 15 years ago or a little more when I was going through that, it wasn't really a North Star. It was like a constellation. Okay. It was a collection of stars and information that I was looking for. How did they all join together? And it was an unfolding of more and more clarity over time, but there was enough there to make some decisions around. But it wasn't super clear at the time. I just knew what it wasn't, and I knew the elements that needed to be included, but more of a constellation, not a North Star yet. All of a sudden, things came into focus, and it's like, oh, I can see it now. And the same has been true for my journey, is now I look back and there's things that I could see from this vantage point that I couldn't fully see at the time, and things became clearer and clearer, but they were always there. They didn't change. I changed my ability to be able to see them. What really unlocked things for me is when I made a decision in what my next step would be, even though I didn't have full clarity around it, and my first step was to quit my job. And people asked me where I was going next. And I had some really great members of my team that said, where are you going? I want to be a part of whatever you're doing next. And then I said, well, I'm going to be changing careers. And this is what I'm going to be doing. And at first when I said I'm going to change careers and I'm going to go back to school, they said, you're crazy. Why on earth would you do that? And then I told them what I would be doing. They said, wow, you'll be so good at that. And that was the validating piece, that they saw what I struggled to see, that was the validating piece. And that's what I mean about the clarity and things becoming clear. It's already there. It was just my ability to change my perspective. And when I shared it with someone else that knew me well, they reflected it back to me. And of course, that's exactly what you do. And we're so excited that you're going to do more of that. I think back to early in my first career, being recognized and acknowledged and pushed in a particular direction in my career, and I resisted it. No, that's not what I meant to do, and that's the easy path, and that's the stereotype, and that's what people think I ought to do, so I'm going to do the exact opposite. And it led me down a different path. But when I look from this vantage point, they were trying to acknowledge in me what they saw, and they were people that got under my skin, because for me, it was anything but that at that point. And then later on, talking to people that were able to shine a light in a way that I could see it and could hear it, and be the person to spark curiosity and ask questions and get me thinking about it more than telling me, so I wouldn't push hard against it. And then continuing to encourage me to explore and discover and nudge me down a certain path, or introduce me to the right people to put in front of me to help me see what they could see. But I think there's two kinds of people that we need to listen to, and sometimes the most important ones are the ones that get under our skin and raise that voice of anything but that. But then we also need those champions and those people that pull us along in our thinking, to help us uncover and unfold things for ourselves, or to be the cheerleader champion when things get scary and we're worried about taking that leap, that they're just on the sidelines going, oh, finally, will you please just leap? And I'm going, but I can't, and I'm scared, and what if I'm wrong? And they're like, don't worry, I'll figure it out, and we know you're not wrong, but just, for God's sakes, just take the leap, and we'll be here beside you and not abandon you. That played a role for me, but what was surprising was I came across something that was an identity piece I didn't expect to find, that was getting in the way of me making that final leap. And it was that I had been fiercely independent for so long that to quit my good paying job and now be financially dependent on someone else. That was unexpected, the barrier that showed up, and took a fair bit, even after I made that decision, to rationalize and work my way through that it didn't mean I was any less of who I was, and that being independent wasn't core to my identity and who I was or what my purpose was. But it was unexpected that crept up. I didn't see it coming. But if you think you're going to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's the paradox. I tell some of my clients, if you don't feel like you're going to throw up in your mouth a little bit, you're probably not stepping into discomfort.
Oh, that's perfect. That's so well said. Yeah.
Uncomfortably vivid, but yeah.
Yeah, truly. So this is all in building some awareness around an upcoming event in January called A Day on Purpose, the first ever Day on Purpose conference happening here in Calgary. It is bringing together a fantastic community of speakers and presenters, people like you and me at various stages of uncovering their own purpose. It will be a day of stories and discovery that will work to make a very high level and at times hard to understand topic relatable and uncomplicated. You are brave enough to start the journey, and we'd love for you to join us there.